Hello friends, welcome back to the Jazz Ranch. I'm glad you joined me. You know, I had a subscriber request that I play by Blackbird, the Sonny Clark version. Well, I listened to it and he double times the tempo halfway through his solo. Well, I can't really do that because I don't have a rhythm section here, but I'm going to be playing it to a backing track. So I'm going to keep the time constant throughout. And you know, I have a quote for you from Louis Armstrong. He said this: "Never play anything the same way twice." In other words, he believed in that, and we as jazz musicians do that. We never play the melody or our solos the same way twice. They're always slightly different. And you know, our melodies, of course, we interpret them according to how we feel at the time, and the solos are always different. And that's different from classical music or other forms of music where they play it how it's written. So we have that freedom in jazz. He also said this is Louis Armstrong now. He said, "Musicians don't retire. They stop when there's no more music in them." Well, that's very true. You know, some musicians do stop playing and go into other fields. I know people who have done that. But if you're a musician, you will play until the end. You know, Sonny Stitt did that. They wheeled him out in a wheelchair in his last concert. He played his last gig, and the next day he was gone. So that's very true. And I'm going to be playing for you now Bye Bye Blackbird. I'm going to talk about very briefly about some tips for playing in a trio. So here we go now with Bye Bye Blackbird. I want to start off by just saying I have a arrangement of Bye Bye Blackbird in my book. This is an arrangement of Bye Bye Blackbird that's in my book under the heading Spread Voicings. This is a spread voicing technique and involves playing the harmonies spread between both hands and the bass note in the left hand. Now, this is more of a solo piano technique, and it's a much easier arrangement than what I played in this video. Now, if you want to learn more about the techniques of this video, you want to go to my material in the book on rootless voicings and block chords, as well as the locked hands technique, which I talk about in a number of my videos. Now, I'm going to have links to those videos that cover these subjects below this video, so you can check them out. I'm going to start out by talking about a few things about playing in a trio. As a pianist, one thing I want to emphasize is try to memorize the song, or at least memorize the chord changes, or read the chord changes and try to know the melody. You want to be able to interpret the melody. So I'm not playing the melody literally, as Miles Davis doesn't play melodies literally, but you play them in a way that expresses your own personality. Now, the next thing is, if you're playing in a trio, there's a bass player, so you don't want to get in his way by playing down. So I'm just trying to put everything up here because the bass player is going to be down the lower register. So I'm chording here. Now, root positions are okay, like it's all F chord, right? So F scale. We're in the key of F here. Now, sometimes I'll go like this. And I'll put one note in the left hand that's a harmony note, and then I'll chord with the right hand. So that's another thing you can play. Melody, you want to learn to be able to play chord in the left hand or switch over to the right hand. So now these eventually are going to get into rootless voicings. Like these are, those are rootless voicings now. The root isn't on the bottom, so you're not playing a root position. You're playing maybe third inversion or first inversion. The two most important. So on a G minor 7th, you would want to play either here or here. That's third inversion. This is first inversion. There's root position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion there. And you can drop the root, add the ninth. Now, the other thing, a couple other points I want to talk about is when you're playing and you're chording this way, you want to comp in such a way that allows the thing to swing. In other words, you want, let me try it. See, that melody is sort of rooted on the beat, but then the left hand can then play off the beat. So you want to have a contrast between on beat and off the beat. So the left hand often will complement the right hand in comping by playing on the off beats. Bill Evans is a master of this. Check out his comping in his left hand. But anyway, so left hand is usually going to be playing on the beat, off the beat, long tones or short tones. So like short tones on the beat, long tones on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Short tunes off the beat. 1. Long tones off the beat. Now, you can mix them up in any order you like. In other words, you can start out with a, short off the beat, then long on the beat. It can be any mixture of those combinations. The next thing is I want to say that you want to let the bass player and the drummer shine. In other words, you want to be listening to them, and they'll know if you're listening to them, because if you're just playing a lot of stuff, you're not listening to them. So you have to create space. Now, this is a really important concept, and particularly takes usually maturity. Younger guys may get it earlier if they become musically mature, but like you let enough space in there, so you can hear the bass player, what he's doing, and you're listening to him, and you're giving him a sense that you are listening to him, because he'll play better and he'll swing harder if he thinks you're listening to him, and then you'll have more cohesive sound. In other words, you'll be more connected with the bass player, and he'll be more connected with you and the drummer as well, because the drummer will just follow what the bass player is doing. The drummer is laying down the beat and, elaborating on it, but the bass player is just playing quarter notes. So he's like putting the time down on the quarter notes. So he's really establishing where the groove is and where the time is. So if you don't groove with them, if you don't groove with the bass player and the drummer, they'll know it and they won't feel it, and then you won't feel them, and you don't really have a unit. So that's a really key, important point, and it took me a while to learn that. You know, you have to play and mature to get to that point. But that's a good tip. In other words, leave space, you know, like, and let the bass player shine in those spaces. This doesn't have to be too busy up here, you know. Do something simple, then do something busy, then do something simple, leave some space. All those things are great in playing with a trio. The other thing I want to talk about is how to make your solo interesting in 3 ways for a pianist. In other words, you can play chord left hand, melody notes up here. So this is linear playing. Then I can play chordally like this. That's actually locked hands because I'm doubling the melody here. The other thing you can do is play chords inverted here and then play octaves here, like. Sort of Red Garland style. You know, block chords and block chords in left hand and melody in octaves here. You want to keep it rhythmic, but you see the left hand then complements what's happening rhythmically in the right hand, and yet you get this different sound that's different from playing the single note or playing the chordal techniques. You have those 3 techniques as a pianist that you can use, that you should utilize in every solo. Well, that's up to you really, but I'm showing you this so you see these options. I'm going to talk about one more thing in the next category. The last point I'm going to make is like sort of playing outside the chord. Now, a lot of times that works really well if it's a modal tune, but this isn't. But it works well on the end of the tune, you know. Have like a fill for a couple of measures there. Now there's where I can put some things that are maybe outside, like, and then resolving it down to 1. See, so that turnaround, you can do some things that are outside, you know, maybe a pentatonic thing, and then come back to the 1 there. That's one example. The other thing is like to maybe take, see the 2 chord, I can go up a half step like. And then I can go. In other words, this half step motion, up a half step. So I'm G minor 7, A flat minor 7, you know, G minor 7. In other words, substitute chords. But when you go up a half step, though, you're going to be playing that scale. Now, the bass player doesn't necessarily have to do that with you, but if he hears you do that and he responds to you, of course, in this, in a backing track, you're not going to hear that because he's not responding to me. But a bass player may hear you do that. See, that's the perfect place because there's a lot of space in there. So where there's a long extension of 1 chord, there's where you can go up a half step or do some interesting things that are outside of the scale, you know. And that's the most useful one, the most practical one, is just go up a half step. The other thing that I did was I used, to alter the chords, was I used blues scale. So like you really can introduce the blues scale anywhere you think on a tonic chord there where it's really, it's really that scale. Now introduce this scale. That blues scale in there. See, it gives it that bluesy sound, plus you're creating variety in your linear approach to melodies, you know, like you're not just keeping it diatonic. So, see, so the blues scale will always give you, you can always use it In most tunes, you can use it whenever you think it's appropriate, and it will change everything up. It'll change that sound of diatonic sound and now give you a bluesy sound. So that's a great thing to utilize as well. So we'll wrap up. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for joining me. Please write to me. I'd love to hear from you. Please send me a comment or a request. And if you have a request and I haven't honored it, please give me or remind me and give me some time. You know, I try to do requests that I think that I can do well and that I will do a good job on. So I love to hear from you. And until next time, I'll say in the words of my great friend Hermie Dressel, swing loose. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.